Well, here we are, the year 2018, and it's September. And in one of the best wildflower seasons for many years, so we've been told, we decided and headed off for a wildflower adventure. So our first night we stayed at Mora. We booked into the workers' cottages there along with all the Tongan fruit pickers. Very entertaining night indeed. Ending up the next day in coal seam, which was, believe it or not, a coal mine in the early days, and there's still a seam of coal there. It is very well constructed. This is a scene from up top of the cliff, but you can get down there and look back at the coal seam which is embedded into the cliff. They've made some beautiful paths there which you can walk along. Quite a bit of trekking can be done there. And this is one of their best ever years too. So they tell me. We then moved on after coal seam into the predominantly yellow wildflowers, and we ended up going up through the middle road, Karoo, a beautiful morning tea there at the CWA and the Tourist Bureau. Each Tourist Bureau also tells you where the wildflowers are blooming best, which is very handy. It makes you pull into all these small towns as well. We went to through Minganyu and ended up at Malawa. And on the way you can pull in almost anywhere on the side of the road and peruse some of these vibrant colours that they've put on show for us all in September. From Malawa we headed off towards the main northern road, Mount Magnet, etc. On the way at Pindar, there's a CBH shed. If you turn left and go up about 8 kilometres on a gravel road, you come to the best reef flower display in Western Australia. Literally thousands of them in very good condition. It's very strange how they grow on a graded part of the road and none of them actually in the virgin bush. Lot 85, Karijini National Park at the Eco Centre. Set up our tent and went exploring. This is the premium space at the Eco Centre as well. And our first gorge we saw was Hancock Gorge. So we ventured down and went for a walk to Circular Pool. Very pretty place. There's still water everywhere, even in September. The pathway isn't that tricky. They do have little plaques on the rocks and the ground telling you how hard it is from grade 1 to grade 5. The grade 5 are blue dots, and we found some of those as well. I think, yes, here we go, navigating some of them indeed. Notice how they're all stepped down in a natural formation, just how the rocks have weathered. So it's quite handy they do that. I'm just surprised they don't fall. Yeah, it's not really a rock ledge, is it? It's an easy one so far. This one was Joffrey. Joffrey was a waterfall, a little flowing river. In this long pond, about 300 metres, you can swim from one end to the other. No wind, freezing cold. Would have liked to do it. Went for a bit of a dip just to get from one place to the waterfall. Yeah, it's a bit chilly. It's a bit chilly there. That's the waterfall that feeds Joffrey. I would have liked to have seen that in full swing.
How pretty is that?
Yes, Hancock Gorge is very pretty.
Bit of Hancock
I
Gorge.
don't know who it was named after.
Yeah, named after, I don't know who.
Well,
But
all these are well worth
it is
visiting.
pretty.
They're all slightly different. On a cooler day, they're very enjoyable. I wouldn't like to be up here in summer though. It would be so hot. To come across the tabletop ledge, that'll be slippery too, so I'll give that a miss.
Yeah, you've got to take it on.
And of course the spider walk. The spider walk is, yes, okay. The rocks are close together. They're a little bit slippery. And navigating them, you need to be careful.
On the side. That's it, yeah, on the side there, on the side. There's a big hole there. Oh, no, go down. That's deeper. It's deep. That's it. No, come forward on the, it's a bit deeper, but it's not slippery. Okay. There, then it goes there. Then I stepped on top of these ones. You made it, see? Then we've got to go down and along here. So.
There are slippery parts, believe me.
Here it comes, down the gorge.
I know just being careful is one thing, but yeah, the bottom can be really slippery and you can slip sideways. If you get injured here, the recovery time is about 8 hours minimum because they have to come from Parabellum to Tom Price and you know, they've got to get off those big haul packs and get their gear and get down here to rescue you. Well worth it though. Very pleasant indeed. We found the little froggies here. They're in a crevice. And this is at the end of Spider Walk. And there's one of the blue dots. The Class 5 climb. If you like these rocks here, 3.5 billion years old. Yes, that is billion, not million. There's no fossils. When these were formed, there wasn't one living thing on Earth.
Come on, Spider Girl. I've got to get up there too.
Yeah,
Shall
it
we
is
say
good
goodbye
fun
too?
climbing in and out of the gorges, of course.
Hand-rolled pool.
Hand-roll pool. That's it.
Hand-roll pool.
Yes, very interesting. We did go down there. Poor Jimmy Regan, 2004. He was rescuing somebody in a flash flood. It rained somewhere in the gorge, came through, and the poor fellow lost his life doing what he loved.
Found our way to Camino Falls this morning.
Here we go in Camino Falls. It's a long walk. It's the easiest walk. Very pleasant though because it's just a gentle flowing water for quite some distance. So you can walk along the ledges, cross over little rocks and walk along more ledges. And there's plenty of shade there. I'm surprised how much water is here really. It must be spectacular when it rains heavily.
It's the first thing we've seen that's alive, apart from the little frogs yesterday.
After Camino, we ended up doing
looks
Knox
nice, though.
Gorge, which is probably the most beautiful gorge.
Yeah,
It's certainly the
it's
hardest,
beautiful.
but it's well
Knox
worth
Gorge,
the climb
is it?
down.
Knox.
And just make sure you walk
Knox
right
Gorge,
to
yeah,
the
pretty
very
colours
end.
again.
There's some beautiful swimming holes as well on the way,
Yeah.
so you can certainly cool off on a hot day.
Oh, yeah. So it's just clambering over the loose rocks that's the hard part. Otherwise it's not too bad. The end of the mighty Knox. It's a steep climb down, but well worth it. We're right at the end now. And the rocks are weathered, but you can't even squeeze through there. So they've put a sign up, no entry, not even for me. So from that, we'll make our way back. There's a couple of nice swimming pools back here. On a grandiose scale though, it's pretty massive.
And just before you climb out, which is a substantial climb from Knox, there's a beautiful swimming pool where you can cool off in fresh water. Nothing will bite you. And our last one, we went down to Fern Pool and saw the bats. It's like little the creche of bats, and there's plenty of them there as well, basking in the beautiful sunshine. Fern Pool itself is, as you can see, it looks so tropical and very damp. There's water dripping out of the rocks, so hence the name, I suppose. And we finished up in Dale Gorge, and you climb down to a beautiful swimming area. This is Hancock and Dale together. Okay, a bit of a beached whale on the rock, and the 374 steps down. And so we say goodbye to Dale Campground. There's not many facilities there, but it's only $7 a night to camp. So then we head off to the beach, and we end up at Coral Bay. So Coral Bay, of course, completely different. Fish swimming around your feet, what more do you want? All in the national park, so you can't net any of the little buggers. But, you know, swimming with the manta rays, we did go out and have a little dip. Of course, Ningaloo Reef is World Heritage listed, very, very pretty place as well. The colour of the water is always amazing up there on a calm day. Quite a rare dolphin here splashing around, whacking his tail in the water just before we dive with the manta rays. And no, they're not fish feeding, they're not the big pelagics, but they are people snorkeling around the manta rays. And on the way home we get a bit of a story about please save the coral. Whatever you can do, put your sunscreen on half an hour before you go into the water. That was the main thing. So we say goodbye to Coral Bay and head off back to Perth. Just before we went up to the little black-tip shark like nursery and had a bit of a play with those little buggers. They come up to you